The final micro teaser for Avengers Doomsday just dropped, and fans are losing their minds. This isn't just another superhero mashup. We're getting the Wakandans meeting the Fantastic Four in what looks like the most significant crossover since the Infinity Saga ended. But here's where it gets wild. This meeting isn't random. It connects back to comic book history in ways that hint at something much bigger coming. The Marvel Cinematic Universe is about to collide with itself in ways we've never seen before. And this leak reveals how Kevin Feige has been planning this moment for years. From the legacy of T'Challa to the rise of Shuri as the new Black Panther. From Killmonger's influence echoing through Wakanda to Doctor Doom's mastery of both science and sorcery. I'm breaking down the comic book origins, the character transformations, the magical systems, and why this specific meeting between these two groups changes everything we thought we knew about Phase 6. Before we dive in, make sure you hit that subscribe button because Marvel is dropping hints faster than we can analyze them, and you don't want to miss what comes next. Is this teaser setting up the biggest team in MCU history, or is Doctor Doom about to tear it all apart? The Fantastic Connection? Let's rewind to 1966. Stan Lee and Jack Kirby were sitting on top of the comic book world with Fantastic Four. The book was Marvel's flagship title. It outsold everything. When they wanted to introduce a new major character, they didn't put him in his own book first. They put him in Fantastic Four issue 52. That character was T'Challa, the Black Panther. The King of Wakanda made his very first appearance meeting Reed Richards, Sue Storm, Johnny Storm, and Ben Grimm. This wasn't a coincidence. This was Marvel saying that Wakanda and the Fantastic Four were connected from the very beginning of both their stories. Now fast forward to today. The MCU just released Fantastic Four First Steps. In that movie, the team faces Galactus. They fight the World Eater. It's their biggest threat, their most cosmic challenge. And guess what happened right after the Fantastic Four fought Galactus in the original comics? Issue 52. The next major story was meeting Black Panther. The MCU is following the exact same pattern. Kevin Feige isn't just throwing characters together randomly, he's recreating the original publication order of these introductions. The Fantastic Four fought Galactus in their movie. Now they're meeting Wakanda in Avengers Doomsday. This is intentional storytelling that respects the source material while building something new. But it also tells us something crucial about how Marvel views these characters. The Fantastic Four aren't just another superhero team. They're explorers, they're scientists, they're diplomats. When you need to make first contact with a hidden civilization, you don't send the Hulk. You send Reed Richards. And Wakanda isn't just another country. It's the most technologically advanced nation on Earth. It's been hidden from the world for centuries. The meeting between these two groups isn't just fan service. It's two civilizations that represent the peak of human achievement coming together. One through vibranium and Wakandan innovation. The other through cosmic radiation and scientific genius. The Fantastic Four are apparently meeting the Wakandans before they meet anybody else in Earth 616. That's massive. Think about it. They're not meeting Spider-Man first, not the Avengers, not even Nick Fury. They're meeting Wakanda. This tells us that whatever brings the Fantastic Four to Earth 616, it's not a casual visit. Something big is happening. Something that requires both Reed Richards' intellect and Wakanda's resources. Maybe it's related to incursions, which were a huge part of the original Secret Wars comic storyline. Maybe it's about Doctor Doom himself. Or maybe the Fantastic Four need vibranium for something. But this meeting is strategic, it's purposeful, and it sets up a dynamic we haven't seen in the MCU yet. Two groups of heroes who are basically royalty in their own right, sitting down and figuring out how to work together. Drop a comment right now with your theory about why the Fantastic Four are meeting Wakanda first instead of any other hero group. What do you think brings them together? The new Black Panther. Now let's talk about Shuri, because everything about her character arc has been building to this moment. When we first met Shuri in Black Panther back in 2018, she was the tech genius, the cue to T'Challa's bond. She designed his suit, she ran the lab, she made jokes about colonizers and sandals. She was brilliant, but she wasn't a warrior. She wasn't royalty in the traditional sense. She was the princess who preferred circuit boards to combat training. Then tragedy struck. Chadwick Boseman passed away, and Marvel had to make an impossible decision. How do you continue Black Panther without T'Challa? Some fans wanted them to recast. Others wanted a different character to take up the mantle. Marvel chose to let Shuri step into the role, and Wakanda Forever told that story. But it wasn't a simple power transfer. Shuri didn't want to be Black Panther at first. She was consumed with grief. She was angry. She wanted revenge against Namor for what happened to her mother. The movie showed us a Shuri who was broken. When she finally took the heart-shaped herb and visited the ancestral plane, she didn't see T'Challa, she saw Killmonger. Eric Stevens, the villain from the first movie, the cousin who tried to overthrow Wakanda and use its resources to start a global war. Why would Shuri's spirit guide be Killmonger instead of her brother? Because she was filled with the same rage that consumed Eric. She wanted to burn the world down. She wanted violence. She wanted revenge. That's who she was in that moment. And even though she eventually chose mercy and forgave Namor, even though she let M'Baku become king so she could focus entirely on being Black Panther, that encounter with Killmonger changed her. Look at her suit in this new footage. It has gold accents, lots of gold, just like Killmonger's suit did. Remember in the first Black Panther movie when T'Challa rejected that golden suit? He said the idea was to not be noticed. He wanted stealth. He wanted to move in shadows, but Killmonger's suit was covered in gold. It was meant to be seen. It was meant to intimidate. It was a statement of power and dominance. Shuri's new suit incorporates that gold. She's not trying to hide. She's not her brother. T'Challa was diplomatic. He was measured. He tried to find peaceful solutions first, but Shuri has seen what happens when you hesitate. She lost her brother. She lost her mother. She's been through trauma that would break most people. Her version of Black Panther is going to be edgier, more aggressive, more willing to strike first and ask questions later. This actually mirrors T'Challa's introduction in Captain America: Civil War. When we first met him in the MCU, he wasn't the wise king yet. He was consumed with revenge against Bucky Barnes for supposedly killing his father. He spent the entire movie trying to hunt down and kill the Winter Soldier. It took him almost the whole film to realize that revenge wasn't the answer. Shuri is starting from a similar place. She's learning to channel her anger into protecting her people instead of destroying her enemies. But that edge is still there. That willingness to fight is still part of who she is now. The clip shows Shuri talking about the king's responsibilities to his people as a political leader. But here's the crucial distinction. M'Baku is king now. He handles the politics. He makes the diplomatic decisions. He runs the government. Shuri's role as Black Panther is different. She's the spiritual leader of Wakanda. She's the nation's direct connection to Bast, the Panther goddess. She's the protector chosen by their deity. That's a completely different kind of power and responsibility. In the comics, Shuri does become Black Panther for a while. She proves herself worthy. She fights alongside the Avengers, but eventually she transitions away from being the Panther and becomes a sorceress instead. She still draws her power from Bast, but she channels it through magic rather than physical combat. She becomes one of the most powerful magic users in the Marvel universe. And I think we're going to see that same transition happen in the MCU. Right now, Shuri is Black Panther, but T'Challa Jr. exists. Toussaint, the son that T'Challa had with Nakia. We saw him at the end of Wakanda Forever. He's young now, but in comic book time, kids grow up fast. In a few years of MCU timeline, he could be old enough to take the heart-shaped herb and become the new Black Panther. That would free Shuri to evolve into something else, to explore the magical side of her connection to Bast. And that evolution might start in Avengers Doomsday. Why? Because of who they're fighting. The sorcerer problem. Dr. Doom isn't just a guy in armor. He's not another Iron Man variant who relies purely on technology. In the comics, Victor Von Doom is one of the greatest sorcerers on Earth. He's second only to Doctor Strange in terms of raw magical ability. He studied under monks in Tibet. He learned the dark arts. He can cast spells that rival anything the Sorcerer Supreme can do. And unlike Strange, Doom has no moral limitations on what magic he's willing to use. The MCU version of Doom is being played by Robert Downey Jr., the same actor who played Tony Stark, the same face. But this is a variant. This is a different version of that person from another universe. And based on everything we know about the multiverse saga, this version of Tony Stark took a very different path. He didn't become Iron Man, he became Dr. Doom. Now think about what that means. Tony Stark was already a super genius. He built the Iron Man armor in a cave with scraps. He created new elements. He figured out time travel in one night. His mind is one of the most powerful weapons in the MCU. But MCU Tony never explored magic. He was all about science and technology. The closest he got to magic was when he fought alongside Doctor Strange, and even then he didn't really understand it. He just knew it worked. But what if a variant of Tony Stark decided that technology wasn't enough? What if he discovered magic exists and decided to master it the same way he mastered engineering? You'd get someone with Tony's intelligence and resources combined with magical power. That's terrifying. That's Doctor Doom. And here's the problem for the heroes. Most of the MCU's heavy hitters are scientists and soldiers. They have advanced technology, they have super strength, they have shields and repulsor rays and vibranium weapons. But magic is different. You can't just shoot magic with a gun. You can't hack a spell with computer code. When Thanos attacked Earth, the heroes could fight him with conventional means. They could punch him, they could blast him, they could try to remove the Infinity Gauntlet. It didn't work, but at least they understood what they were fighting. Magic changes the rules. Doctor Doom could teleport across dimensions. He could control minds. He could summon mystical barriers that no physical weapon can penetrate. He could literally rewrite reality if he's powerful enough. Fighting someone like that requires magical knowledge and power. That's where Shuri comes in. She has a direct connection to Bast. She's channeling the power of a goddess. That's magical in nature, even if Wakandans don't necessarily frame it that way. And if Shuri starts to explore and develop that connection beyond just enhanced physical abilities, she could become one of the few heroes capable of fighting Doom on a magical level. The Fantastic Four have Reed Richards' genius, but Reed is a scientist. He thinks in terms of formulas and physics. Doctor Strange is a sorcerer, and he'll obviously be crucial in this fight. But Strange works alone most of the time. He needs allies who understand both the physical and mystical aspects of combat. Shuri could be that bridge. She's a scientist like her brother was. She understands technology as well as anyone in the MCU, but she's also connected to ancient spiritual power through Bast. She can operate in both worlds. And if Doctor Doom is going to be defeated, it's going to take a combination of science and magic. It's going to take vibranium technology and mystical power working together. That's probably why the Fantastic Four are meeting with Wakanda. Reed Richards is smart enough to know they can't beat Doom alone. They need allies, they need resources, they need Wakanda's technology, and they need Shuri's connection to Bast. This movie is setting up something we've never seen in the MCU. A full-scale magical war combined with technological warfare. And the heroes are going to need every advantage they can get. Tell me in the comments if you think Shuri should become a full sorceress or if she should stay as the Black Panther. What's more interesting to you? The Killmonger effect. Let's go back to Killmonger for a minute because his influence on this story can't be overstated. Eric Stevens died at the end of Black Panther back in 2018. He was defeated. He was wrong. He wanted to use Wakanda's weapons to arm oppressed people around the world and start a global revolution. T'Challa stopped him. The movie made it clear that while Killmonger had legitimate grievances about how Wakanda stayed hidden while people who looked like them suffered, his methods were too extreme. His solution was war and domination. But here's the thing, Killmonger wasn't entirely wrong about everything. T'Challa himself admitted this at the end of the movie. After defeating Eric, T'Challa revealed Wakanda to the world. He started outreach programs. He opened up Wakandan resources to help other nations. He fundamentally changed Wakanda's isolationist policy. Eric's ideas about Wakanda's responsibility to the world influenced T'Challa even though his methods didn't. And now Killmonger's influence is showing up in Shuri. When she visited the ancestral plane in Wakanda Forever, every other character who took the heart-shaped herb saw a loved one. T'Challa saw his father, but Shuri saw Killmonger. She barely knew him. They met briefly during the events of the first movie and then he died. They weren't close. They had no relationship. But he appeared to her because in that moment their emotional states were aligned. They were both consumed with rage. They both wanted to destroy their enemies. They both felt justified in their anger. Killmonger told Shuri in that scene to go ahead and get revenge, to kill Namor, to embrace the fury she was feeling. He was encouraging her to become what he was, a weapon, a force of vengeance. And Shuri almost listened. She almost killed Namor. She had him beaten. She had her spear raised. She was ready to strike the killing blow. At the last second, she chose differently. She chose mercy. She chose to honor what her mother would have wanted instead of what her anger demanded. But that moment with Killmonger still marked her. His words still echo in her mind. And now her suit reflects his aesthetic. The gold isn't just decoration. It's a symbol. It shows that Shuri has incorporated some of Killmonger's philosophy into her version of Black Panther. She's not going to hide. She's not going to wait for threats to come to Wakanda. She's going to be proactive. She's going to strike first when necessary. She's going to be the aggressive protector that Eric thought Wakanda needed. The difference is that Shuri has balance. She has M'Baku too as king to handle diplomacy. She has learned from watching both her brother and her cousin make mistakes. She's trying to find a middle path between T'Challa's cautious diplomacy and Killmonger's aggressive interventionism. And honestly, that might be exactly what the MCU needs right now. The old guard of heroes is gone. Tony Stark is dead. Steve Rogers is retired. Natasha sacrificed herself. Thor is off-world most of the time. The new generation of heroes needs to be different. They need to be willing to make harder choices, to act faster, to be more decisive. Shuri represents that evolution. She's a hero who has been through trauma and come out harder on the other side. She's not naive about what it takes to protect people. She knows that sometimes you have to fight. Sometimes you have to be willing to do what others won't. But she also knows where the line is. She knows when to show mercy. That makes her more complex than her brother was. T'Challa was a great character, but he was almost too perfect, too noble, too measured. Shuri has flaws. She has anger issues. She makes mistakes. She's learning as she goes. That makes her more relatable and more interesting to watch. The fact that Killmonger, a villain, has this much influence on a hero is fascinating. It shows that Marvel is willing to blur the lines between hero and villain, to acknowledge that sometimes the bad guys have points worth considering. Killmonger's legacy isn't that he was right about everything. It's that he forced Wakanda to change. He forced them to engage with the world. And now his spirit is pushing Shuri to be a different kind of Black Panther than her brother was. In Avengers Doomsday, we're going to see what that means in practice. We're going to see Shuri lead Wakanda into a multiversal war, and I think she's going to make choices that T'Challa never would have made. Some fans will love that. Some will hate it. Drop a comment with your take. Do you think Killmonger's influence on Shuri is a good thing, or is it dangerous? The multiversal stakes. This teaser isn't just about two teams meeting. It's about what that meeting means for the larger story Marvel is telling across Phase 5 and Phase 6. The multiverse saga has been building since Loki introduced the concept of infinite timelines. We've seen variants in What If. We've seen the multiverse collapse in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. We've seen different Spider-Men team up in No Way Home. But Avengers Doomsday is where everything collides. The Fantastic Four come from a different universe. That's established. They're not from Earth 616, the main MCU timeline. They're from somewhere else. Maybe they're from a universe that's dying. Maybe their Earth was destroyed and they're refugees. Maybe they're explorers who accidentally crossed over. We don't know yet. But them meeting Wakanda suggests that Earth 616 is going to become a gathering place for heroes from across the multiverse. Think about what Marvel is setting up here. Doctor Doom is almost certainly going to be pulling heroes and villains from different realities. The TVA from Loki probably plays a role in managing which timelines survive. Kang was supposed to be the ultimate threat, but Jonathan Majors is no longer playing that character. So Doom has stepped in as the main antagonist, and Doom's goal is probably similar to what Kang wanted in the comics: control over time and reality itself. The meeting between Wakanda and the Fantastic Four is the beginning of an alliance. They're going to need each other. Reed Richards brings scientific knowledge about the multiverse. Wakanda brings vibranium and resources and mystical connections. Together they form the foundation of a resistance against Doom. But here's what makes this different from the Infinity War storyline. In Infinity War, the heroes were reactive. Thanos showed up and they responded. They tried to stop him and they failed. In Endgame, they spent 5 years dealing with the consequences and then mounted a counterattack. It was defensive. Avengers Doomsday seems like it's going to be more proactive. The heroes know the multiverse is collapsing. They know threats are coming. They're forming alliances before the big attack happens. They're preparing. That changes the dynamic completely. Instead of scrambling to respond to a threat, they're building a coalition. The Fantastic Four meeting Wakanda first suggests they're recruiting. They're bringing together the smartest and most powerful groups they can find. And this is just the beginning. We know Avengers Secret Wars is coming right after Doomsday. That's going to be even bigger. That's going to pull in every hero Marvel can possibly include. We're probably going to see characters from the Fox X-Men movies, characters from the Sony Spider-Man universe, characters from every Marvel project that's ever existed, all colliding in one massive story. But before we get to that chaos, Doomsday needs to establish the core team, the heroes who are going to lead the charge. And based on this leak, Shuri and the Fantastic Four are part of that core group. That's significant. Marvel is saying that Wakanda isn't just a side player. They're not just supporting characters. They're central to saving the multiverse. Shuri is going to be standing alongside Reed Richards and Doctor Strange and whoever else is leading this fight. She's going to be making decisions that affect billions of lives across infinite realities. That's a huge responsibility for a character who just became Black Panther one movie ago, but it also makes sense. Wakanda has always been special in the MCU. It's the most advanced nation on Earth. It has resources no one else has. It has a spiritual connection to ancient gods that gives its champions supernatural power. And now it has a leader who understands both science and mysticism. Who better to help navigate a crisis that involves both? The stakes of Avengers Doomsday are going to be insane. We're talking about the potential destruction of not just Earth 616, but every reality in the multiverse. Dr. Doom is powerful enough to threaten all of existence. The heroes need every advantage. They need Wakandan technology. They need vibranium. They need Shuri's connection to Bast. They need Reed Richards' genius. They need the Fantastic Four's experience with cosmic threats. And they need these groups to work together perfectly. Any friction or distrust could doom them all. That's the real tension this movie is setting up. Can heroes from different worlds with different values and different methods unite against a common enemy, or will their differences tear them apart before they even get a chance to fight Doom? What do you think happens when the Fantastic Four and Wakanda first meet? Is it friendly immediately, or is there tension? Let me know in the comments what you think that first conversation looks like. The future path. So where does all this leave us looking forward? Avengers Doomsday is just one movie. Secret Wars comes after it, and then Marvel has to figure out what Phase 7 and beyond look like. Shuri's character arc is far from over. Right now she's Black Panther and she's learning what that means. She's figuring out how to channel her anger into something productive. She's discovering her magical connection to Bast. But as I mentioned earlier, in the comics she eventually transitions away from being Black Panther and becomes a full sorceress. That feels like the natural evolution for her character in the MCU too. T'Challa Jr. is growing up. In a few movies he'll be old enough to take the heart-shaped curve. The MCU loves legacy heroes. We've seen it with Hawkeye passing his mantle to Kate Bishop. We've seen it with Sam Wilson becoming Captain America. We've seen it with Cassie Lang getting powers and becoming Stature. The next generation is taking over, and Toussaint becoming the new Black Panther makes perfect sense. He's T'Challa's son. He carries his father's name. He represents the future of Wakanda's royal bloodline. When he's ready, Shuri can step aside and let him take up the mantle. That frees her to explore other aspects of her power, to study magic more deeply, to become Wakanda's magical defender in addition to being its scientific genius. Imagine how powerful that would make her. Right now she can design technology that rivals anything Tony Stark or Bruce Banner ever created. But if she also masters the mystical arts, if she becomes as skilled with magic as she is with engineering, she'd be one of the most powerful beings in the entire MCU. She could go toe-to-toe with threats that even the Avengers struggle against. Doctor Doom is just the beginning. After the multiverse saga ends, Marvel is going to introduce new threats. Probably cosmic-level threats like Galactus on a larger scale. Probably mystical threats from other dimensions. Probably threats we haven't even imagined yet. Having a character who understands both science and magic, who can fight with both vibranium technology and divine power, gives the MCU incredible flexibility for storytelling. Shuri could team up with Doctor Strange for mystical adventures. She could work with Reed Richards on scientific problems. She could lead the Midnight Suns if Marvel decides to build that team. She could be the bridge between different types of heroes. And Wakanda itself is going to continue evolving. M'Baku as king represents a shift in Wakandan society. He's not from the royal family. He's from the Jabari tribe, which was isolated from the rest of Wakanda for generations. His perspective is different. His leadership style is different. Under his rule, Wakanda might become even more engaged with the outside world. We might see Wakandan embassies in more countries. We might see Wakandan technology being shared more freely. We might see Wakanda taking a more active role in global politics. And with Shuri as Black Panther focusing on spiritual and mystical threats, Wakanda has protection on multiple levels. M'Baku handles the political and social needs of the nation. Shuri handles the supernatural and cosmic threats. It's a partnership that plays to both their strengths. The Fantastic Four connection is also going to extend beyond just this movie. Once Reed Richards and Shuri start working together, they're probably going to continue that collaboration. Reed might help Wakanda with new technologies. Shuri might help the Fantastic Four understand mystical concepts. They might exchange knowledge and resources. This could lead to some of the most advanced technology and magic in the entire multiverse being combined in ways
we've never seen. Think about what they could create together. Reed's understanding of dimensional physics combined with Wakanda's vibranium and Shuri's connection to Bast. They could build devices that allow travel between realities. They could create shields that protect entire universes from collapse. They could find ways to heal damaged timelines or restore destroyed worlds. The possibilities are endless. And from a storytelling perspective, this gives Marvel so many options for future movies. They can do a Wakanda and Fantastic Four team-up movie. They can have Shuri appear in Fantastic Four sequels. They can build long-term relationships between these characters that pay off over multiple phases. This is how you build a universe, not by just throwing characters together randomly, but by establishing meaningful connections that have history and depth. The fact that this connection goes all the way back to Fantastic Four issue 52 from 1966 shows how much thought Marvel is putting into this. They're not just making movies, they're honoring decades of comic book storytelling while creating something new for modern audiences. And fans who know the comics get those references and Easter eggs, while fans who don't know the comics still get a great story about heroes from different worlds learning to work together. That's the magic of what Marvel does well. Accessibility for casual viewers and depth for hardcore fans. Avengers Doomsday looks like it's going to deliver both. Now let me ask you this. Do you want to see a Wakanda and Fantastic Four team-up movie after Secret Wars? Should they give these characters their own crossover film? Tell me in the comments what you want to see from these characters moving forward. And here's a controversial take. I think Shuri is going to be a better Black Panther than T'Challa was. Not because Chadwick Boseman wasn't incredible, because he absolutely was, but because Shuri's version of the character has more room for growth and more internal conflict. T'Challa was already wise and noble when we met him. Shuri is still figuring things out. She makes mistakes. She struggles with her emotions. That makes for more interesting storytelling. Do you agree, or do you think that's disrespectful to T'Challa's legacy? I genuinely want to know what you think. Drop your opinion in the comments and let's discuss it, because this is the kind of character development that divides fan bases. Some people want their heroes perfect and noble. Other people want their heroes flawed and growing. Both are valid preferences. Marvel seems to be leaning toward the second option with Shuri, and I think that's the right call for where the MCU is right now. We need heroes who reflect the complexity of real people. Heroes who struggle with grief and anger and difficult choices. Heroes who don't always get it right the first time. Shuri is that kind of hero, and in Avengers Doomsday we're going to see her tested like never before. The fate of the multiverse might literally rest on her shoulders, on her ability to work with heroes from other worlds, on her willingness to embrace both her scientific training and her mystical connection to Bast. This leak is just a small glimpse of what's coming, but it tells us so much about Marvel's plans, about how they're connecting their new characters to their legacy, about how they're building towards something massive. Avengers Doomsday isn't just going to be another superhero team-up movie. It's going to redefine what the MCU can be, and Shuri is going to be right at the center of it all.